new cover. I love it. And so we're going to have happy hour. So that's what I was thinking, James, for your book, when you're ready, maybe we do it on a Friday night and we do happy hour, or Saturday night, could be happy hour, either one. So we're going to do it 6 o'clock, happy hour.
Okay, that sounds good.
Huh?
I said, yeah, that sounds good. I can do that.
Okay. So I want you to just be on next week and see what we do and some things we do. And I mean, really what we're going to do is no different. Maybe just because each one of them's a little bit different, but just be on if you can. That's when we're having it. So we will be having theirs next Friday. Tomorrow, is today Friday? Yes. Tomorrow is tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, is Athena's book launch for her All I Ever Wanted, Jessie. And so as I mentioned to you before, and I need to go write a review on it, but it is really a great story. I love great stories. And even though the story is one you've probably heard before, because it's a conflict between two families, and two people from each family fall in love, and that we've heard before. But as we see from Hallmark, it doesn't matter if it's the same story rewritten however many times you want to rewrite it. People love the story, and they love, I mean, honestly, I like that they have the Christmas movies all year long, because every now and then it's just, here comes Athena even, every now and then it's just nice to go watch a nice Christmas movie, and great love story, and I love it. And I love it that Athena's are not the ones with the poor little boy on the cover that can't afford a shirt. Hers is a picture of the house, and it's both families live in mansions. So I wasn't sure, Athena, which house is this? Is it the Stevens? You're muted.
The Barrymore house.
The Barrymore. Okay, I thought it probably was, but I wanted to make sure. So beautiful, beautiful mansion kind of house, and both families are very rich, and so there is a conflict. So anyway, great story, and I can't wait to get started on the next one. And I would be starting on it right now if I didn't have one to read that's part of work. So one of the things I'm doing is I am going to be a beta reader for Kelly. And Amy, I told Kelly to check with you to see when is the next Monday night we have available. Who's this Monday? Is it Julie this Monday? Okay, good. Yay! Julie will be our speaker this Monday. Julie, if you can give me a little blurb about it so we can go ahead and do the email and all that stuff. So Julie's Monday. Are you Monday morning also for Author Talk? Okay, good. Amy's shaking her head, yes, so good. And then the next week is where we have John Kramer. And I'm going to share my screen in a few minutes and show you his website. And we're going to talk marketing today. And he is known as the book marketer, period. He and Dan Pointer, I don't know if any of you have heard of Dan Pointer, because both Dan Pointer is now passed away. But he and John Kramer just went all out. And the thing I loved about both of them, we had Dan Pointer come to Houston a bunch of times. He never, ever, and he was like president of the the Speakers Association.
Toastmasters.
Not Toastmasters, the one that's the professional speakers. Is that? I don't even remember the name of the organization now, but it is the organization for professional speakers, and they're the ones that give out the designation of you are a speaker, a certified speaker, and all that. Professional Speakers Association, I think it is, but it doesn't sound right. Anyway, so he was head of that. So he had a huge reputation, and he had a bazillion books, and most of them on self-publishing. Or marketing a self-published book. So he was great, and if you ever get anything by him, there is still a Dan Pointer, although it's not him. It's like the people that work for him, and they're still sending out the stuff and doing everything that he did. But John Kramer was there with him, or at the same time, and John Kramer's still alive and still kicking and still going strong as far as book marketing. So when we get started, I'll go into that. Thank you, Amy, for starting the recording. You can see James's puppy dog there. It doesn't look like a little puppy though, does it? I want to get started. We're going to talk about, Amy, you put something besides marketing. What was the other thing we're going to talk about? Amy.
Yes, I'm sorry. I was listening to Joshua's response. Sorry.
Oh.
Yes, what was your question? I'm sorry.
Audiobooks.
It's audiobooks. Who said that? Thank you, CJ, for reading the email. I read it and I'm like, okay, I knew we were going to talk marketing with this stuff. So,
I forgot to change the headline. I copied it and do it, and I forgot to change the headline to just book marketing. My bad. But I gave you guys a Sky update. I'm getting better, okay? I gave you a Sky update. Each week.
You're doing great. You're doing
Okay, at least I read the entire email. Okay.
I don't see any of that. My copy just says we're doing marketing, and it doesn't say anything about Sky.
Yeah, Sky. We need a Sky update on there from now on.
It is. It's at the top. It says
Oh,
that.
it says Sky scheduled to come that day, the 28th.
Oh, got it.
Friday, and then on Monday I told you guys that we're still waiting for Sky's arrival. So I've been putting updates up at the top. Julie, the audiobook is in the subject line.
It says Mastermind time on my subject line.
Yeah, it'll be, it's the one underneath that. Not everybody gets those, I guess.
I didn't.
Okay. Okay, so, but James, before we get started, James and Athena, anything else you want to say about tomorrow night?
Just that I invited a lot of people, so if y'all think you got spam mail for me, because I went down my entire list of so many other hundreds of people that I have joined or liked or did whatever, and I just go through the list, and at some point it tells me I had like 25 left to go, and I was on it for like an hour. So
I get those too. It says you have this many more. Or every now and then I get something that says you should only be inviting people that you think would be interested in coming.
Yeah, I get those too. Or people, you should only invite people that you know.
So yes, so all of you do the same thing. Invite people, invite people, invite people. But James, from you and Athena, I need the list of people that will be on the panel, that will be on the screen. So I want to make sure I send an invitation to them.
Okay, Athena can send that to you.
I sent an email to Amy yesterday.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you have it, Amy? Okay,
Yeah.
good. Then, Amy, when we send the invitation in for to the people that will be on the screen, then we'll make sure we send it to all of them.
Yeah, and Haley, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So now, did you, Amy, Andrea Barbosa, did you get her?
No, you said that you were going to reach out to her.
I did, and she said yes.
Oh, I didn't get the response for that one.
Okay, so because it wasn't on email, it was on Messenger.
Now we met Andrea before, right? She was on here before.
She was on for Zach. She was on for Zach.
Okay. Okay, yes.
Because she has friends and she does a lot in Greece. So, but she actually writes her romances under another name because she's got all of her like historical fiction and all of that is under one name, and then her romance she writes under another name. But it's like, so her name is Andrea Barbosa and the other name is like Andrea Bailey or something like that, spelled differently.
Yeah.
So anyway, she will be on, and so and she'll be giving away one of her books.
Cool.
Yes. So so when you get audiobooks, we'll have to have your narrator on because we're going to do that next Friday night for Charles and Rox. They're going to get their narrator because I told them about Greg and how he had his narrator on. So they're like, okay, we'll do that too. So they're contacting them to make sure they're available. So anything else from anybody before we get started on marketing? Okay, so I've been talking about marketing through all of my team calls. So we talked about marketing on James's, Actually, Amy talked about social media marketing on James's. I met last night with David, and we did some research on hashtags because I was looking through some of the things. So Amy taught us a lot about hashtags the other night in the Rock Hill team meeting. And Amy, I do want you to schedule a Monday to do that for everybody in the group, because you really did dig deeper in the hashtags. It was great information. And then I saw that one that I posted on my Facebook, which is hashtags. And then I did a search for hashtags for authors, and got some even better information. And then because I was on with David, and so we both started searching for hashtags for fantasy authors, hashtags for science fiction authors, on and on. And I mean, you can just find all kind of hashtags on Google, and sometimes it's words that you might not have thought of using for your hashtag, but yet that means people are using it, and they've got like the top 10 and all of that. So do some research on your hashtags, because as Amy was showing us, it will show you in a couple weeks, lots of information you can get. If you're seeking to, as Amy calls it, build that spider web and connecting I call it connected the dots, Amy calls it the spider web. But if you're reaching out and you're going around this way and you're coming to the same people, meeting them, introducing yourself, following them, tweeting to them, or emailing, or Instagramming, whatever you're using. Lots of great ways you can do connections. So we'll be talking about that in a couple of weeks. I want to now I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to take you to John Kramer. Let me find, here is Chrome, I believe. So I don't know how you move this thing. Okay, so I'm going to go here to his bookmarket.com. Now, you'll see once I click on it that it automatically takes us to that was his website. And now his website, Book Marketing Bestsellers. So I always have a hard time getting us out of the way of the thing. And now it's not even letting me. That's crazy. Okay, so book marketing bestsellers. So we're just going to go down and look at some of the tips. So one of the things I want you all to talk about, because I don't want to teach this, I'm just going to show you this. And I want you to talk about what you're doing for marketing. So, but I wanted to show you where you can get some more tips. So you don't have to look at his services, but you can see that his book is at 1,001 ways to market your book. And I can tell you he has exactly that many ways in there. So, so he's got all kind of marketing programs, Relationships Matter, book marketing bestsellers, book cover critique, indie bookstore campaign. But if you go to the top, and you can see across here, book marketing. So he's got articles and tips, how to market novels and poetry. Here's his podcast. Hello, everybody's getting a podcast these days. Here's book launches and product launches, book marketing inspiration, book marketing freebies, gifts and memes, typographics, that's what he uses for Pinterest, and quotes. Amy, there's lots of information there you can use for any author. Just book marketing, find something, find a gift, find a quote, find something. So then here's the publicity. He's got the services, tips, and resources. Book review editors. There's a list of all the book review editors at the newspapers across the country. Publicity opportunities, magazines, and then online marketing. Let me tell you, I promise you, if you come to this site once a day, this is not in place of social media. This is to help you find content for social media or find ideas. If you come here, here's online. I'm sorry. Did somebody say something? So here's internet marketing tips. So this is all the virtual stuff. Here's social media, content marketing, blogging resources. So if you're not blogging, here's some resources. There's all these things, all for doing online marketing. So I'm not going to go through the entire website, but I want you to. I want you to go get ideas, go get information, go get content. Content is the most challenging thing to do for anybody. It doesn't matter if you're, it doesn't matter if you are, let me stop sharing, an author, or if you're marketing your book or selling your book. It doesn't matter if you're selling the products. It doesn't matter. Now, his is specifically, though, for marketing books. So go there. I want every one of you to go find one thing that you're not currently doing, one thing, and I want to report Monday night. Or you can email me, or you can post it in the group. Somehow, I want a report of one thing. And Tarina, I'm talking to you too. I saw her laughing over there, so make sure nobody's excluded. David, I'm looking for stuff for you, but you're welcome to go find your own stuff as well. David just started a podcast. We're helping him with that, called Saving America. So remember his book, it's called, and it's right here, I keep it right here, The Decline of America. So 100 Years of Leadership Failures. I'm telling you, this is the best research book on presidents I've ever seen. You want to know how, so we're looking at a pandemic. We're looking at a crisis. So how did other presidents handle crisis? How did Kennedy handle the Cuban thing? All of that, it's in this book. So go research it and find out what other presidents did. And so we have some great things coming up. We take his podcast and divide it into 3 segments. James, I'm looking at you when I'm saying this because you're next. He divides it into 3 things, 3 subjects. The first one is in the news. So we talk about something in the news that goes with his book or goes with his podcast, Saving America. And we've had no shortage of things in the news. And then the second one is rumors. What are those things in the news? What kind of rumors are we hearing? And then the last one is just the facts. So we've been doing those, and we're getting ready to do podcast number 3 or 4. I can't remember which. We're doing them on Facebook Live, and then we're also putting them on YouTube. He has a person that works with him who's great at editing videos. It's like Lydia. And so she's also taken out the audio so we can actually put it on Apple Podcasts, which iTunes is now Apple Podcasts and all of that. So think about podcasts and think about it. And I know James has already said he'd be interested. So here we go. So if you find anything about podcasts and how to market those, that's a great way to sell books. So all of you have a new marketing thing that you can do by Monday. That is the assignment. And now I want to start with CJ, who is our marketing guru here. And I want her to tell us one thing that she does. So it will be a tip. So I want all of you to give a marketing tip to the rest of the group. And if you don't have one, then ask for a marketing tip and talk about what kind of marketing you'd like to do. We're going to go around and give everybody a chance to talk about marketing. So CJ, you're on.
I actually do a lot. I do a lot of cross-promoting. For example, I interview an author on my website, which means that author is promoting my website as well as I promote theirs. I share other authors' stuff. I figure we're all in this together. Podcasting, I do slip the fact that I'm an author in there quite frequently. And at the beginning of every podcast, I tell my name and my website. And then pretty much, like I said, a lot of the stuff I feel is kind of second nature, but I guess to some people it's not. Whatever I do, I splatter it across all lines of marketing. And then I'm not like having to create something new for every single one.
And as tall as she is, when she splatters, everyone gets it. So If so you guys that have not met them in person, had not met them in person until last Indie Palooza, and I have to look up like this the entire time I'm talking to them. So it surprised me. I walked up, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's CJ up there.
Hey, I'm actually the short one in the family. I'm only 5'10".
Oh, wow.
Sister over there is 6 foot. Mom is 5'11". Dad was 6'2", 6'4". Hubby is 6'4". Brother is 6'4", and another brother is 6'7". So yeah, I'm the short one, 6'5".
Wow.
The shortest one is our sister-in-law. She married in.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, even Meredith is taller than she is. So yeah, she's like the shortest.
She is.
So I guess all your brother looked for a tall woman. Delia said, what was the grade book you mentioned that helped you when you write a blog? When did I say that, Delia?
You just flashed this book and you talked about the crisis, the Kennedy crisis.
Oh, that's this one.
So yeah, what is the name of it?
The Decline of America.
Oh yeah, that's the one
That's David's book, yes.
David's book. I'll read it, David.
You should be writing blogs about Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I have a draft. I have to write it.
And remember, it doesn't have to be long. So one of my clients, Mr. Elam, is 91 years old. And I have a call with him every day. Isn't he, Lydia? And he's such a delightful person. I actually look forward to the calls with him. And he sends me emails 3 or 4 a day where he's reviewing stuff that I might want to know about his book. So yeah. Okay. So Delia has the answer to that. CJ, anything else you wanted to say?
Yeah, actually the best form of advertising is word of mouth. So that cross promotion that I talked about, when I do it for other authors, they actually do it for me as well. I'm also in a group of now 11 authors that we read each other's books and review them and share them and splatter it everywhere. So the best, way to do it is to find a group of authors that you click with. And that is kind of your street team.
Kind of what you did, Greg, with your authorology. So, Greg, why don't you go next?
Well, I have the authorology, which it helps authors learn how, or not how to, but where to promote, and also cons and conventions. It guides them.
Greg, we can hardly hear you, babe. Can you, either you need to turn your sound up or get closer.
Is that better?
That's better. It's not wonderful, but it's better.
Well, one of the things that we do with authorology is we tell people about the conventions and where to go for that and how to get involved in their community. We have blog posts on Mondays. We have little writing, 100-word short stories on Wednesdays. We do stuff like that. But I've just found, I look for different places to sell my book, like Etsy. And I didn't know, I thought Etsy was just crafts, but it turns out that they actually have a very big book library in there. So I'm going to try that out.
That sounds great. Good. So one of the things, when I was talking to David last night, we were going over, he said, what do I do about bookstores right now? So let me tell you, and so this is for you too, Greg, phone calls, you can still make phone calls. And so one of the things that I have found over the years in my life as a salesperson for computers and in my life as a salesperson for authors and their books, phone calls work better than emails. Phone calls work better than text. Phone calls work. So when you I can tell you that, I worked with Michelle Sism and Bellany and a few others that did these massive events once a year. And my job was to help promote it. But that what they expected from me was that I would bring people. Because I just always had. I knew people, I'd invite them and they'd come. And so one year, I actually sponsored it, which means I paid money to have my name on everything and all that. It's another way of marketing. However, if I did not, and if I met the number of people coming to match how much I was supposed to pay, and I didn't actually have to pay money. I just paid in bringing people, and they paid. So this one event, I mean, I still needed 5 or 6 people to not have to pay. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to pay. And it was like a few $1,000s. So it wasn't like a few dollars. And so I'm like, oh, so Michelle System, who was my coach at the time, and she said, you know, what did you do when you were, you know, when it was time, the end of the quarter, and you hadn't met your quota yet when you were working with Compaq and HB? What did you do? I was like, I got on the phone and called everybody I knew. She goes, okay, that's what you have to do now as well. And I hadn't thought about it being kind of the same thing. So I got on the phone and called everybody I knew that normally went to her events in Manhattan. And then I started calling people that had never been to her event before and started telling them. By the time I got to 5 or 6, I had my pitch down and I was going strong. And I brought enough people not only to cover what I was supposed to pay, but I also brought quite a few people. As a matter of fact, throughout the conference, people would stand up to say something, or she'd ask a question and they'd raise their hand. And it was like almost every time everybody said, well, when Sandy invited me, and then the next one was, when Sandy invited me, it got to be a little bit embarrassing because it felt like I was the one that had invited everybody. But if you are determined and you want to, so what I'm suggesting right now, and I told this to David, we talked about it yesterday, so Greg, you live up near Porter in that area, right? Okay, go look online and find not just the bookstores, because I don't know, are there any bookstores in Porter? I didn't think so. But how many little antique places are there? There's tons, and I can promise you they will put books in there. So call them, tell them about your book, tell them who's for, tell them who it attracts. They want people to come in their store. They want people to come in and buy stuff. And so offer to do it on consignment or however you do it. But Greg, for you, I would suggest that you try that for a few places in the neighborhood so you don't have to drive too far. But the same time, remember, we are practicing safeness. So make sure when you call them or when you take them in, just be careful. Especially you, Greg, I certainly don't want you to get any COVID because I sent you to these little stores. But everybody knows that in Texas, there's 10,000 of those little places everywhere you go, little stores that sell. It's like an Etsy retail store. They sell crafts, they sell used stuff, they sell antiques, and they sell books. So one of the things you can do to help sell yours is build a little display for it. So take your book cover, get it printed, put it on cardboard, do whatever, so you can have a stand, have your books stand in the front, and then the books are laying down behind it. You've seen book things like that. So make it easy for them. Have something you can put it in. But that would be one of the things I would suggest for you, Greg. And I mean, you can put 2 or 3 in a bunch of places. Just keep track of it. Make sure you don't lose track of where all your books are too. So that's my suggestion for you, Greg, and for all of you really. But the big suggestion is, and I thought of this when Greg said word of mouth. Word of mouth is still the best way to sell anything. Oh, it wasn't Greg, it was CJ that said that. Sorry, CJ. Word of mouth. And so get on the phone and use that word of mouth that you've got, because you can tell people about your book. You can tell them about other books. Find out. We don't want to have any events there, but you can do virtual things for them. So think of the things you could do to help them. It's always about what can I do to help you, not what you can do to help me. And then you're the one that gets to bring the books in. You're the one that gets to sell books. When I first started, I was at one of those little places with my mother-in-law. Every weekend, we spent the weekend Rain, shine, we were like the post office. Rain, shines, sleet or snow. We'd be out there in these things hawking books. And sometimes we'd go in one where it would be a nice day and people would be coming in. My problem was I would usually spend more money than we sold books on the stuff they sold in the store, because they have some really cute stuff in those stores, especially when it comes to jewelry and that stuff. So, Delia, what about marketing for you? How are you marketing this book to the people that you know want to know about your family?
I've been doing some of the things about that personal stuff and using those videos for doing that marketing, and people kind of find me and talk to me, because this population likes to talk to you. And even if you send a correspondence to a whole group of people, they want to talk to you individually. And so that's been the approach that I've been using, but I've been getting ready to do that. So I'm taking notes, because I'm going to spend this time really focusing on what you've been saying and what everybody's been saying. Thank you.
Okay, good. Okay, everybody just shifted on me now. So let me see where I have it. Julie, what about you? What are you doing? Oh, and Lydia, one second, Julie. Lydia said if there's a tea room, there's yummy stuff to eat. So if you're going to have an event there, you take some stuff too. So you can, because that's what we used to do. We loved having teas. And so I've told you about that before, our story about that. So Julie.
So I'm doing all the things that we've been talking about here. I don't do a podcast yet, but I'm thinking about starting that. But the new thing, just a little vignette, I'll say. Yesterday I was on a Zoom, nothing to do with me personally. It was a Rice University traveling Rice Owls rollout of their trips, most of which are canceled or postponed. But anyway, the woman running the show, the young woman, is new. So she said, what ideas do you all have for trips? Well, I couldn't let that go by. So I said, have I got a trip for you? It's the Camino de Santiago, and you blah, 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 blah. And I write all about it in my book. So I didn't say the name of my book, but in the chat, people kept saying, what is the name of your book? So I hope I sold a few books.
Yay.
Just by being bold and jumping in there when I
Of course, absolutely. And that, so you were on a Zoom call, so you can actually say it. But you can do that very same thing in the groups on Amazon. If somebody asks a question, and you can really do this on any of those sites like Reddit and Quora and all of those. Look for someone to ask a question like, exactly like what you said. And I know Rice University has a lot of online groups as well too. So by the way, speaking of Rice, Amy, have we heard from Tom recently? We need to check on him. So we met Tom. Remember, he sat by you, I think, Julie, when the Judith thing. He was the guy that was a mathematician from Rice University, and he's honestly, I was working with him for a while till all the COVID stuff hit, and he's got more books than you could imagine. And some of them are like, 900 pages long and all this stuff. He has been writing like crazy. So anyway, Julie, that is a great idea to speak up like that. Good job on so you can sit there and think about doing that. Like Julie could have thought, I should say something. But all you have to do is open your mouth and say it. It doesn't take a lot of courage. It doesn't just open your mouth and the words will come out. So good job, Julie. I appreciate that. I can't wait to see you on Monday at Author Talk. I'll be watching. And then Monday night, can't wait to hear what you have to say. What are you going to be talking on Monday night, Julie?
I'm talking about contests. I thought thought two things. First, I thought that there wasn't enough information. And so I said I was going to do contests and reviews, paid reviews. And that was my first thing. And then Mike Kowitz,
Mm-hmm.
can't say his name, Colas, talked a little bit about contests last Monday. So I thought, oh God, he stole my thunder. But then yesterday I was working on contests, and there's so much to talk about. So now it's just contests. We're going to talk about that.
Oh, good. That's great, because all of you need to be looking at that. And I know James and Athena, well, Rock Hill, sends theirs to a couple of the ones that are put on, but one of them is put on by the publishing. What is the name of the group, James? Do you remember?
It's the IBPA, Independent Publishing Book Association, or Independent Book Publishing Association.
Are you familiar with that organization, Julie? Okay, good. If you're not familiar with them, Lydia and CJ, you guys familiar with them, right? Okay, because they're great. And I have to tell you on another one, I don't have it open right now, but remember, those of you that were in the NFAA here in Houston, remember when Mike Ellerkamp showed us the thing from ALLI, Authors Alliance or something like that.
That's all. I'm covering all that on Monday, Sandy. Don't steal any more. Please.
Okay, I won't, because I just found out that so yeah, you got plenty to talk about if you go in there, because they got lots of good stuff there. Okay, good job, Julie. Tarina, I know you're redoing your book and doing a lot of stuff besides marketing, but what have you done to market? We don't know you as well as we know each other, because we've been chit-chatting like this for a while. So tell us about your book and what you are currently doing to market it, or what you have done to market it.
So I'm not going to market it. Actually, CJ gave me such a good suggestion, and I have been pondering it for a bit. And I have to admit, I agree with her as far as possibly turning my book now into a Christian fiction. So what was self-published and not marketed, I'm not going to do additional work with that given version, but my goal is to do more of a Christian fiction of a series of short stories. So that's where I am, and I've just started doing some writing. So I'm really at the early stages of that. So yeah, I'm excited. One of the things, I don't know if any of you know this, but I absolutely love to garden. And I get so much inspiration when I'm out in the garden. I'm sweating bullets, but I'm out there doing some writing. So gotten a lot of inspiration there. So yeah.
So so right now you're writing books.
Or short stories, yeah.
Oh, short stories, okay. Okay. And that reminds me, Lydia and CJ you moved from the very top to the very bottom, and I have no idea why, but so your contest is over when? I mean, when, not contest, but your books have to be submitted, the stories have to be submitted by when?
October the 1st, and they need to be fully edited, so.
And what are the stories supposed to be about?
Holiday. It's got to be holiday oriented. So Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, basically the holidays. And it's got to be clean. I mean, it doesn't have to be, Christian fiction, but just don't make Santa a serial killer or anything like that.
Is it a fiction story?
It can be true. It can be it's short story or kind of a short novella.
20,000 words or less.
How many?
20,000 words or less.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like a full novel to me.
Well, some people.
No, I know.
Some people like CJ are very wordy, and so we had to sort of boost that up. But anyway, so if you're interested and you haven't reached out to us yet, because I know like James and Julie and Zach have already kind of reached out to us, please let us know. So it will be ready and on sale at Amazon for the Christmas holidays. So we want to, Black Friday is like, my drop dead deadline. I would like to have it, up and ready before then.
So you're going to do like a launch for that, for the Black Friday stuff? Okay, good.
Yep. We'll do a big old Zoom party and all that. In fact, CJ and I finally just broke down and spent the money to get like the real version of Zoom for her. So instead of the cheapo freebie,
it's not cheap, that's for sure. So I understand.
They do have a deal right now. What was it? $148 for the year.
Well, you get 20% off.
Yeah. So, if you buy it annual.
Well, and they always everybody gives you a good deal if you pay the whole year instead of monthly.
So that's what we ended up doing literally today, because we've got a book launch coming up Saturday afternoon. So.
And tell us about that book launch.
Well, we're helping out a friend of ours, and it's the second of a sort of a young adult fantasy, and what's Mike's last name again? I just went blank.
For what?
Mike's last name.
Mike for what? We know a lot of Mikes.
Book launch.
Oh, Mike Clifton.
Thank you, Mike Clifton. He's an East Texas writer, and he's a buddy of ours. So we're just kind of helping him out. He's not a Texas Sisters Press client. So anyway, so tune in on Facebook. 4 o'clock, and obviously we'll be there for Athena at 7. We're very excited about that.
Yeah. Yay. So see, Tarina, that's what this group is all about, is helping each other out. So like this is not even a client of theirs, but they're going to help with the book launch.
Well, it's
Athena is a client. Athena and James are clients, but we've helped out a lot of people that are not clients. They're friends, and we want to give them a
well, and like, for example,
Mike is sort of a client of mine.
She's been helping him with social media. But Mike is somebody we met through the East Texas Writers Association, 2, 3, 4 years ago.
Yeah, and then the author marketing too.
Tarina, where do you live? Where do you live?
Oh, he lives in Mount Pleasant.
No, I'm talking about Tarina, where she lives.
Oh, Tarina.
I live in the North Texas area, the Dallas.
Oh, you're in Texas.
I'm in Plano, Tarina. We should get together and have coffee.
Absolutely.
I didn't realize you were this close.
Yeah.
I live in Louisville. So yeah, it's all good. So.
Sounds great. Okay, so where do we go? We had Julie. Greg had to leave. We had Tarina. So Athena, what do you and James do? I want both of y'all at the same time, but James moved up. Oh, good Lord, I can't keep up with where people are. James, so you and Athena, what do you do for marketing? Not for your clients' books or your authors' books, but for your books. What do you do to market Athena's book?
Okay. Well, what I just went back to Goodreads, but not for Athena's book. I went back for our summer launches. I'll do Athena's book next. So as Rock Hill Publishing, I have 3 different IDs on Goodreads. So because since I write underneath 2 different names, I had to make 2 different Goodreads accounts. So J.L. Hill and James L. Hill. So then I made one for Rock Hill Publishing for everybody else that I'm publishing too. So I just went back and I put up everybody's book that we just launched this summer for Goodreads, and Hemispheres got a request for a read, so that was good.
That is good.
I'm starting to push a lot of things. Like I said, for Athena's book launch, I went down the list of everybody that I know. Underneath James L. Hill, my office page, and underneath Rock Hill Publishing together, I think I got about 1,000 people.
Oh, wow. That's great.
700 or 800 people underneath the Rock Hill, and then about 300 or 400 people underneath my name. And so when I go in there, I always, and I'm a member of God knows how many groups. So it takes like an hour to publish things through all the groups. So basically when we have something going on, I push everything out to the groups. Now I got to remember
and that's great. That's great. So all of you need to be diligent, not more diligent. If you're not already doing that, hear what James is saying, because we're getting all kind of people show up for his book launches. And so one of the things that Amy and I specialize in, actually, and one of these days we're going to start just doing 1 or 2 things so we have more time to promote the things we are doing. But that's great, James, that you do that. I like it. Your authors like it, and it's going to help everybody in the long run. One of the things I've been really working on podcasts lately, and David helping create podcasts, but also helping to send out pitches to podcasts. And so I actually signed up for some training by a person that I've followed for years, and she had this really big sale on it. It was like $37 for a year to join her membership and to talk about podcasts, all about podcasts. So I joined it, got the training, read the training, been watching her videos, and then she had a Q&A last week, and I didn't get to go, but I've been watching the recording of it and listening to it. And one of the things she said is she used to do all kind of things. That's how I met her. She was a book promotions person and a publisher. And so she said, what I decided was I can't focus on everything. So I'm going to do the hottest thing right now is podcasts. Everything I do is going to be about podcasts. Teaching how to podcast, teaching how to find podcasts, bringing people that do podcasts on. And she gave some great examples. I mean, really great examples of opportunities she's got just because now she's a big animal rescue person, and she's a plant-based only eating person. So she talks about that. And so she wants to get on those kind of podcasts. And she was talking about that where she mentioned, which I thought, this will happen to you, I promise, once you get into it more and doing more of the podcast. But she was on one podcast and told about rescuing her dog and told the story. And, it's one of those tearjerker kind of stories because she was telling it to us then. And somebody else that was on the Zoom call, but that happened a few months ago. She's telling this rescue story, and here's this person that has a podcast, and it's called, I forgot what it is. It's got the word pause in it, PAWS. And so she happened to be listening to this podcast that Kathleen is on. Here's her tell this story about rescuing and this dog that she rescued. So this person who's got this huge organization contacts her, and Kathleen is saying, she contacted me and said, would you be the speaker for our annual event this year, which is virtual, of course. And so she just spoke at that event. And then so when she got done telling her story, the person who had the event said, when I heard her speaking on this podcast, and I called, I felt like I was calling the biggest celebrity in the world. And I had no idea if this person would be interested in speaking to my group. And here's Kathleen thinking, oh my gosh, what a great opportunity. And here's her thinking, I don't even know, this person's way too big to come to my event. And now they're both celebrating that. So that's what will happen when you speak on one, somebody else will hear it, especially if you speak to groups, like we're going to be speaking, I'm looking for author groups, author podcast, author. And that's what David and I were doing last night, is looking for all these places that he can now submit his pitch to all these podcasts. So anyway, there's just some exciting stories out there when you really get involved in the marketing. So Athena, do you have anything to add to what James said as far as marketing?
Well, what I really want to do is work on my website and start a blog. I'm interested in blogging and use my social media more. I'm actually quite good at Facebook. I know how to use Facebook. I'm just never on my author's page, and I've started following 3 writers that I really like, and I'm learning how they do their things. So I've concentrated on 3 because the more you take, then your mind goes everywhere.
It does.
Because then you're trying to keep up with too much. So I've picked 3 writers, and I'm following their Instagram, their tweets, Facebooks, their everything that they are doing, those 3 specific writers, because they write in genres that I like. You know, it's romance and fantasy and those things. So I'm learning from them. So I'm hoping to apply what I learned from them, how they, use the platform with their fans. So that's what I'm doing. So
Very good. Very
yeah.
good.
So that's where I
Sandy.
am.
Yes.
Sandy, about
Yes.
podcasts. I'm going to do another one in October. Something about Kamel, something 100 is her
Now,
podcast.
so you're going to be speaking on their podcast.
Yeah, for entrepreneurs. She's doing an entrepreneur.
And that's great. See, you can branch out. You don't have to do authors. I want to do authors, but you can do, like James has a business. His publishing company is a business. So that's great. Lydia, you and CJ too. Just, go.
My podcast isn't specifically authors either. Mine's more people genres.
Well, yours is people that have a passion.
Right. But when I get authors on there, I do promote their site and we do talk about their books because that's obviously a portion of their passion.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I do talk about my book and my writing, but I also talk about the publishing end of it and how I publish other people and what their books are about. So, because
I'm going to be helping with a book launch in September, which is it was done. It's one like CJ that you and Lydia are doing. It's a group of networking people that are putting their stories together, and it's called Something Entrepreneur. The group is Networking in Action, and so they put a book together, and they contacted me to help them with the book launch. So those are the kind of things that I like doing. And when I speak to a group of entrepreneurs now, either on Zoom or in person, I tell them, every business owner should have a book. The best piece of marketing you can possibly have if you're a business owner is a book, which means I should be working on mine. Tell your story in a book, and that will be something you can give people. Like Brian Bearden's constantly saying with his tip book that he wrote on websites, he's not made but more than $1,000 on selling books. And yet, as far as business, he's gotten in over $500,000 in clients who wanted websites built. So that's the kind of marketing you can do, and I promise you it does work. Zach, you're up next.
Hello, hi. So what am I doing about my marketing? I've got obviously I've got another business to run at the same time or be involved in, which has its own highs and lows. But what I've done is I've targeted like Athena, I've targeted 5 or 6 different authors that have at least 3 books published in the historical fiction area. And they seem to be mostly British actually, but I didn't know that at first. One's Australian and two are American. But they all have the same thing. They're very focusing on the history of their period. So there's one guy who's very interesting, and he's got about 50,000 followers on Twitter. And so I'm targeting ones who are like much higher up the scale than I am in terms of their publishing credentials. And then so my publishing credentials, and so that's been very good. And they're actually saying, I really like what you've done and how you've done your whole situation with regard to promoting your book. Then the other thing I've had is I've given my book out. A bunch of people have read my book already, and 2 people have actually forwarded my book to the reviewer for the New York Times, the reviewer for the International Herald Tribune, and the reviewer for Le Monde in France, which is like the main paper in Paris. And they're going to time it in terms of my sequel coming out. So they basically give me a very good review. They've actually said, I like what you've done. And so I've actually given the book out. I've made sure that people have got the book that would actually be my target audience. Now I've realized that I actually have to have a lot more volume. I don't have enough volume I only have one book, so I have to write the second book and finish it off and have Athena edit it. Sorry, no, and then that's it. So you know, it's great. I got my first royalty check. Thank you, James. That was really nice. Really appreciate that. You know, obviously it could be a lot better, but it's better than nothing. I'm being paid to do something I love doing, so that's always a good start. I haven't paid for anything.
Very good.
Yeah. So from that point of view, I've targeted with minimal amount, and because of the fact that I have so many irons in the fire, I need to sort of be very careful about how I'm marketing myself. It's got to be specifically, you know, towards my target audience. And so that's why the authors are very good. And when they friended me, we're now building up rapport on our by email, through Twitter or through email, Facebook. And they've all said the same thing, which is when we come to the launch of the second book, they're going to be on my book launch as well. And so there'll be a really good sort of building up of following about what I do. And then the other thing is, which is what Amy suggested, which was brilliant the other day, was I'm going to start repurposing videos that are relevant to what I do. So like there's this great video about, I mean, I don't know if you guys know, but there's a whole group of people called the Khazars who were Jewish, who converted to Judaism rather than be Christian or be Muslim in the 600s. And they were a very powerful Turkic tribe that went and kicked a lot of ass around the world at one point. And so no one knows about that. And they ended up being very influential in the world. And so that's very relevant to book 3 for what I'm doing. So I'll say, oh, look, this is a very interesting point, and this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Watch this video. It's really interesting. You'll find this. And then I would just say, thank you, Kings and Generals, for their following. And they have a 1.5 million following on YouTube. So that's what I'm doing. It's not exactly sort of conventional maybe, and it's a bit sort of more underground because I can't afford to do the day-to-day, every day doing a post. I just don't have the time to do that. And I also don't feel I have the volume or the library available to me to say, hey, I've just got book 1, but I haven't got book 2, 3, or 4 yet. If I had 4 books, that would be very different. Then I'd have an inventory that I could actually start to display stuff with.
And content, we're going to talk about content next week, because that's the biggest challenge for everybody, is the content part of it. And once you have the content, then like the video, so every one of you should be doing a Facebook Live once a week anyway. Just get on and say a few words, do something. Julie, you could talk about that you're going to be speaking Monday night at our group. Just all of you have something going on. Just get on. David and I get on for his stuff every week now. But before that, before we started the podcast, every couple of weeks we get on and do some videos. Of course, it really helps that he's got Rachel to help him. I swear, I keep threatening to steal her, but she's very loyal to David. So, but I mean, we've had his videos on his author page now going on for a while. And they don't always have to be about his book. Sometimes they're about, something else going on that he's doing. He's also a professor at the University of St. Thomas. He speaks to entrepreneur groups. He's part of the Heights Chamber, which is one of the biggest chambers in the Houston area. On and on and on. There's a lot of things that he does, and he's on podcasts and on radio shows. So, David, other than that, is there anything you're doing, like to promote the book when you're out and about and when you're speaking, maybe?
Oh, it's been a little limited the last couple of weeks because the university is going into session on Monday, and at the last minute they said, well, you're going to teach online for the first month, and then if possible we'll teach in classroom, which basically doubled all of our startup work.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it hasn't been a big last couple weeks, but when I travel, I always travel with a few copies of my book, and I've left them. Many nicer hotels maintain like a little library for guests, and I will usually give it directly to the general manager of the hotel and sign it to the hotel or to the manager, and it becomes part of their library. So that's just one little tip I picked up from traveling. And I always travel with even if I don't have books, I always travel with the flyer for my book, which is a very nice 5x8 glossy card. So I can give people that.
Very good. And we didn't even talk about marketing materials, but that is great. If you're going to a place, I knew someone who would always do bookmarks, and everywhere they'd go, they'd leave 2 or 3 of the bookmarks. So there is no end to the things you can do to get the word out about your book. That's a great idea, David. And I've seen that card. It is very nice. And it's a big one, like a 5x8 kind of card. So
Yes.
think about bookmarks, think about postcards. Honestly, today, especially if you do them online, they're very reasonable that you can do, 1,000 or whatever. So think about doing something like that. And we could go on and on and on, but again, I want you to go to the website. Again, it was, I'll put the website here in the chat. So don't forget to save your chat. Go back and look, or Amy, we can post it in the group also, right? So I want you to go to the website, either go to the internet marketing, which is the online, which what most of us are doing now, or go to the reviews or something else, publicity, find something that you are currently not doing and you're going to start doing. So if you can start one thing a month, just think what you'd be doing by the end of the year. So, especially if you start at the beginning of the year. So any last words from anybody? David, thanks for being here. I will see you later.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, then I will see you guys on Monday for Author Talk in the morning and Julie speaking Monday night for the training. So Julie, see you Monday.
Sandy,
have a great weekend, and we'll see you at the book launch tomorrow.
Sandy, are me and you staying on, or you want me to get off?
Yes, you and I are staying on.
Okay.